On the deck of the Titanic, two men are standing. One of them isn't even wearing a life jacket, because he already knows he will survive. The other has just lost his entire fortune, but he doesn't realize it yet. Right now, at this very moment, you are one of those two men, and not realizing it doesn't change the outcome. Throughout history, every catastrophe has created two parallel realities. In one, there is death, pain, and destruction. In the other, there are those who quietly accumulate wealth, rebuild the system, and rewrite the rules in their favor. And this video will show you this. Disaster capitalism never ended. It only became more sophisticated. From 1347 to 2008. From the Black Death to modern pandemics, the same mechanism operates behind every crisis. And if you don't understand that mechanism, you already know which side you'll be on when the next collapse comes. The losing side. October 1347. Ships arriving at the port of Genoa carry fleas that will soon turn Europe into hell. Over the next 5 years, 200 million people will die. Nearly 60% of the continent's population. Bodies pile up in the streets. Villages are abandoned. The economy collapses. But in Florence, a young banker named Giovanni de' Medici does not panic. On the contrary, he opens a ledger and begins taking systematic notes. Giovanni isn't afraid of stepping over corpses, because among those corpses he notices something else. Abandoned houses, empty fields, ownerless businesses, worthless real estate. As the plague tears through the city, the Medici family quietly and methodically begins buying property, careful to appear restrained. An owner dies. The Medici are there. A workshop is abandoned. The Medici are there. A merchant goes bankrupt. The Medici are there again. And here is the critical point. Giovanni isn't just buying real estate. He's building a system. Survivors need cash. The Medici lend it, with interest. Orphans fight over inheritance. The Medici mediate, for a commission. The church needs men to bury the dead. The Medici supply them with a profit margin. When the plague ends, 60% of Europe is gone. But the Medici have become one of the most powerful dynasties in history. They are no longer just rich. They can now buy popes. In 1513, Giovanni's grandson becomes Pope Leo X. How? Medici money. And this is only the beginning. The family will produce 3 more popes, finance the Renaissance, and lay the foundations of modern banking. This is the first golden rule of disaster capitalism. Chaos is when wealth transfers the fastest. In normal times, capital moves slowly. There are regulations, social pressure, but during catastrophe, rules are suspended, morality blurs, and those who are prepared can build empires in a single generation. April 14th, 1912, 11:40 p.m. The RMS Titanic, the ship said to be unsinkable, strikes an iceberg. The next 2 hours and 40 minutes will expose disaster capitalism in its rawest form. Here are the brutal statistics. 33% of first-class men survive. Only 34% of third-class children do. A wealthy man had a higher chance of survival than a poor child. 97% of first-class women survived, while 46% of third-class passengers drowned. This wasn't coincidence. It was design. The ship's architect, Thomas Andrews, faced a choice. Space for the swimming pool for first-class passengers, or enough lifeboats for everyone. He chose the pool. Result: lifeboats for 1,178 people on a ship carrying 2,224 passengers. But the real story lies elsewhere. J.P. Morgan, one of the richest men in the world and the ship's owner, canceled his trip at the last minute. Official reason: illness. The truth was never confirmed. What is interesting is this. 1 week before the sinking, Morgan's company restructured the ship's insurance and increased the premiums. After the Titanic sank, new maritime safety laws were introduced worldwide, and the insurance industry exploded. Lloyd's of London tripled its premium revenue within a decade. Fear became one of the most profitable products in history. And those selling it made money from the disasters that created it. This leads to the second golden rule. Elites always have early warning systems. Was Morgan's absence a coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe for the wealthy, there is no such thing as disaster, only opportunity. They see it earlier because they have information, connections, and most importantly, exit plans. October 24th, 1929, Black Thursday. Wall Street collapses. Millions of Americans lose their savings. Suicide rates rise. But in Boston, a 41-year-old man named Joseph P. Kennedy is smiling. Kennedy isn't a genius. He is simply rational, focused on maximizing advantage. During the 1920s, he used pump-and-dump schemes, insider trading, and market manipulation, all legal at the time. But in the spring of 1929, he noticed something. Everyone was buying stocks with borrowed money. The system was dangerously inflated, so he quietly sold everything and began short selling. When the market collapsed, Kennedy's fortune quadrupled. While families stood in bread lines, he was buying Manhattan apartments. More importantly, he knew prohibition would soon end, thanks to political connections. Before it did, he imported massive quantities of Scotch whiskey and stored it. When Prohibition ended in 1933, Kennedy became America's primary legal alcohol supplier. Result? The Kennedy family became one of America's most powerful dynasties. His son became president. His grandchildren became senators. And no one asked where the money came from. This is the third golden rule. Positioning before a crisis is 1,000 times more profitable than reacting during it. Players know the script. Spectators panic. September 15th, 2008. Lehman Brothers collapses. The global economy implodes. Millions lose their jobs and homes. But in Manhattan's glass towers, some people are opening champagne. John Paulson, a little-known hedge fund manager, realized something. Everyone was buying mortgage-backed securities, but no one understood what was inside them. In 2006, he bet billions against the housing market using credit default swaps. When the system collapsed, Paulson made $15 billion in a single year. $4 billion personally. One man earned $4 billion from the suffering of millions. And then came the bailouts. As public money was used to save banks, Warren Buffett stepped in. He invested $5 billion in Goldman Sachs at the bottom, with guaranteed 10% annual returns and stock options. Today, that investment is worth tens of billions. And perhaps the most bitter truth, the bankers who caused the crisis weren't punished. They were rewarded. This is the fourth golden rule. In modern disaster capitalism, the state is part of the game. When the rich lose, socialism appears. When the poor lose, it's called the free market. And now the most important question. What comes next? Climate change is no longer theoretical. Water wars, mass migration, submerged coastal cities are approaching. Pandemics? COVID-19 was only a rehearsal. Economic collapse. Global debt is at record highs. Central banks keep printing. Inflation is back. And history teaches us one thing mercilessly. When the next disaster comes, there will again be two groups. Those caught unprepared are panicking, losing, and those already positioned in a risky planning how to profit. The Medici built an empire among plague corpses. Insurance barons rose from Titanic's ice. The Kennedy dynasty emerged from 1929's ruins. Megafunds were born from the wreckage of 2008. So the question is, which side will you be on? Disaster capitalism is not a conspiracy theory. It is a historical fact. Every crisis is a wealth transfer. The only question is, in which direction? And if you don't know the rules of the game, you've already lost. When the next disaster arrives, and it will you be prepared or surprised? Which of the two men on the Titanic's deck are you? The one without a life jacket, or the one who lost everything? The choice is yours. But your time is running out.